Hello, hello. Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? It's time for some chess and a little bit of coffee. And gonna do the same thing we did last week. We're gonna start off with a. Where's the puzzles? Start off with the daily puzzles. Adjust this. And okay. Let's see if we can't figure this out. This one is. Oh, no, I want the daily puzzle. This one is called Passing with Flying Colors. Passing with Flying Colors. Okay, so the first thing I see is the king here is basically blocked in, right? So that'd be great if I can check the king one more time. And that'd be checkmate. But I think if I do any of these two moves, he's got en passant, which would really free him up to move down. Might still be an option. I don't think it's gonna be. Could en passant two different ways here. But just for the heck of it, if I did move here, if I did play e4, I mean he could en passant or push. No, it'd be a check, so he'd have to en passant. En passant, and then these two spaces would be free for him. Take the pawn, puts him in check. He can't move here because of the rook, of course. So then he'd move down to f4. Then my knight would be under attack. It's defended by the rook. Check with the pawn. He could move down still, right? Because this pawn's not here. Let's do takes first. So h3 takes g3, h4 takes g3. Take back. It's still check. He can't take because the bishop would be guarding the pawn. Rook guards the knight. And this pawn covers the square. He would still have king f3. So I'm not sure where the win is after that. He also always has, he can always sack his queen too. But I don't know what any of that has to do with passing with flying colors. Passing with flying colors makes me feel like it has to do with a passed pawn, which would really be this guy. Obvious if I move this pawn, he can just take and take my pawn. He's also got one pawn. He's also one pawn away from promoting. All right, let's check this other en passant move. This other pawn push here. G4. That would be check, and he can en passant, and that would be I can take the knight, which would be check, and then he'd take back. Then I take, but I mean that doesn't seem good. En passant. I can take back h takes g3, because that would threaten checkmate, so he'd have to take it back. And then I could take with the knight, which would be check. And then if king f4, pawn e3, and then king f3, I wish I could play rook f6, but then king takes. I wonder if there's a way to get his king here and then like check him and then like win his queen. But then he'd just promote anyway. So I feel like that's a little overcomplicated. Maybe I'm overcomplicating this. What else can I do here? Can I just use the knight first? Takes, check. Takes with the pawn. Then if I played en passant, it's still not threatening because he could always move down. But then I'd have rook. Yeah, but then he can move this way. Let's see, e4. I'm going to look at this again. E4. F takes en passant. Then G4. Black takes en passant again. So he'd have two black pawns here on G and E. Then I can take this one with the knight, putting him in check. And he would be able to move down to f4. The queen's obstructed by his other pawn here. He would f4, and it's defended by this pawn. This pawn covers the square, and then I'd have rook f6, And I don't think the king can go anywhere. He's going to have two of his pawns here. Really my knight, but it's going to be protected by my h2 pawn. My h3 pawn blocks off this square. So these squares are not usable. So after knight here, he's going to be able to go down. Oh, these two pawns are going to be gone. So even after this, well, after rook f6, it would check him down the whole file. I think that's got to be it. Because if I en passant him here, he has to. If I play e4, he has to take en passant. Now after that, if I play g4, he can just move down, but then I always got rook f6 check. And he's still but after that, wouldn't he have e4? Takes. En passant, or g4, king f4. I'm not sure what to do after that. Because if rook f6, then he can just run his king away. Before, if the knight was here, it would stop him from running his king away. Though I guess if his king were here, he could probably still move here anyway. So that maybe that wouldn't be the right move. This one's tricky. I do feel like it has something to do with like a double en passant move. En passant, e4 en passant. If takes with the knight check, like I said, he's got f4 and then pawn check. He's got king f3, and after king f3, I don't think I have any more checks. So maybe instead of pawn here, maybe I play bishop e3. So en passant, knight takes e3, king f4, bishop g3. He can't go down now because the g2 pawn covers f3. So he would have to take. I could take back. But then king g3. And I have knight f5. Oh man, I'm starting to lose track of where I am now. Okay, like I still have these pawns here. This pawn would be here. The black king would be on g3. He can't move forward anymore because of my king. He could still move. No, he can't move here because of this pawn. So after knight here, I think he'd have to go back. Or maybe I can go knight. Maybe I can return knight f3, check. Then if he moves back, if I ever move my rook, he just has king e5. Maybe I have something in the wrong order here. This almost feels right though. The king on g3 and maybe knight c2. Maybe knight c2 threatening a fork? That wouldn't really matter, because even if I got the fork and I took his queen, he could still promote, and his king would be over here. Something's amiss here. Something is amiss. Check. He has to take en passant, so I probably would take. I feel like I need my g pawn to cover. I feel like I need to cover these two squares. But if I played g4, let's say g4. If he takes this way, I have check, and if he takes this way, I have e4, and then he would have to move down. But I don't see a continuation after that. Maybe bishop g3. But he could still just move king down. But then I'd have knight d2, which would be check. Like that could be it, but if I played that's if this en passant. If I play g4 and he takes this way, is it not the same? I'd still have this check. He'd be able to move down. I'd have this check, but then he could take with the pawn. But then I'd have H takes, G3. Then he'd have to move down or sack his queen. And if he moves down, the problem is at any time, because this pawn is on e4, he could run this way. But if the knight's here, he can't run this way. But the king ends up on e3, f3. The king could still run here. Like if I played f6 check, the king could run here. All right, the most forcing move has got to be e4, right? Because like he has to take on Passant. Which I think is like really important. e4 on Passant. Now the only way to check the king anymore is one of these two knight moves. Right? One of these two knight moves. I like the green arrows here. Or g4. Either one of those can get taken by h4. Check, takes, threatening checkmate. Okay, so look, e4. So e4 on Passant, knight g3 check. Like he could still move his king to f4. Wait. Then I'd have rook e4. No, then I'd have rook e4. Right? Okay, this has got to be the move, because if takes. Okay. Good morning. E4 takes, knight g3. Knight g3. He has to take, because otherwise king f4 meets rook e4. So he has to take. I take back, and I'm threatening checkmate here. Pawn g4. Now the queen is obstructed by his pawn on e3. So, like, he could just push his pawn down, right? Well, if he pushes his pawn down, I could take it with check. Then he can kind of run, or he can maybe even take it. So maybe that's still not right then. Or either that, or I'm missing something here. All right, G4 would have to G4 he doesn't have to take, right? Because he can just play king down. But I've been through this line before, right? Then bishop G3 takes. Man, I'm like running out of brain power doing this puzzle. There's so many moves. I mean, this move just seems right. This is going to be one of those puzzles where I'm not like, there's just like so many, there's like 3 lines to consider. I'm having a hard time keeping it all in my head. So if G4, if he takes, I can take with a knight, which would be check. And then he can go down, and then I got rook here. So he basically, after this move, he would have to play king down. Then I got check, takes, check, king down. Rook E3. But that's just a big trade, and he's still up a rook. Shoot. What am I doing wrong here? Right? E4. En passant. G4. King F4. Maybe maybe there is no checkmate here. It looks like the checkmate because of the rook. Maybe I can just... Maybe I can just take the pawn. Threatening the queen. Threatening to win the queen. But I win the queen, but then it's just a bishop versus a rook. And he's still going to promote. What is up with that, huh? Okay, maybe I'm being silly. Maybe I'm overcomplicating this puzzle. Maybe I just have like a fork. like maybe it's just like en passant takes. I take here, threatening his queen. Because if you were to take the queen, I would take with check, and then I'd have this fork here. Yeah, but if he takes my knight, even if I take like the pawn, then he could just move his rook away. No, his king would be here. So takes, check. Yeah, takes, check. King F4, king E4. But I wouldn't be able to stop this pawn. Takes. Takes with check. So I was thinking if I have rook on e3, it would protect the c3 square for the bishop. It's got to be a checkmate. I feel like there's this. I have to do a bunch of forcing moves, which is why it makes me think about checkmate. But it's like it has to start with e4. It'd be crazy to not start with e4, right? Is there a way I can sack a piece here? Like, can I just sack this? And then takes, and then g4? And if king down... Takes, let's see, so like knight f3, takes. Maybe not. I think didn't I try thinking about knight g3? Yeah, takes. Threatening checkmate, but like, can't he just... I guess he could sack. Maybe I should start thinking about other moves. Rook f6 just loses a rook. Pawn d6 just loses a rook. Rook e3 just loses a rook. En passant looks so right, but I can't think of like a line that... Can't think of a line that just wins. Takes. Takes a check. Down. Knight c2, threatening the queen. But even if he... Even if he let me take it, though, I mean, he can just play queen c5 check and win the knight unless I move it back and win everything anyway. This is a tough one. E4. En passant. So I keep coming back to like E4, G4, but like the king can just move down. Check. The king can move down. Takes. Rook takes here. Sack the queen. Wow. I feel like I'm missing something obvious, but I don't think I am. If I take this immediately, let's get king f4, king f4. So like the knight on g3 with the rook on e4 would be so good if the king was on f4. Like takes. Hmm. I wonder if there's one move I could do to set up checkmate. It's like I'm so close to checkmate, but I don't have a checkmate. Is it just as simple as that? Wait, so e4 takes. Knight f3 check. But even if he sacked the queen, he can still promote a pawn though, right? Like, takes, sack the queen, bam, promote a pawn. But like, see, like he can always sack the queen, promote a pawn, and have a queen and a rook in the end. So it has to be a checkmate. Like it has to be, right? Like takes. Check. Takes. Just sacking all my stuff. Takes. En passant. Down. Takes. King down. Dang, I'm going to spend all my time on this puzzle. That's okay. Like passing with flying colors, like it has to do with trying to get some sort of passed pawn here. But these guys are preventing any kind of passing. Like unless they started with g4. If I started with g4, he would have to take en passant one way or the other, right? So if he were to take h takes g3, knight takes e4, king f4, bishop takes g3. He'd have king f3. Dang. This is hard. g4. I think h takes, and that shuts my whole plan down, doesn't it? I mean, I like the idea of double pass pawns, double en passants. Because then I'd have takes, and then wouldn't be checkmate because he'd always have king down. Knight takes. If knight takes, if king down, I got rook here. Right? How's that not? But he's still got king f3 though, right? He's still got king f3. Like this one first. Because if he en passants here, I have e4, and then he en passants again. So then I'd have knight f3, and then knight g3, king f4, rook e4, king f3, and there's no checkmate there. So maybe after knight g3, king f4, see if I go rook f6, he's got king e5, doesn't he? Takes. Check. Takes. I might end up needing a hint on this one. I'd hate to use a hint. And it's gonna be like, oh, your hint is e4, and it's like, yeah, I know that. like I know it's e4. It's got to be e4. En passant is forced. I got no other checks except for the knight moves, the pawn moves. But if I play this way, he does still have king f4. But that's when I have this. And then he always has king f3. And there's no way to really stop king f3 unless this pawn stays here. This line, he can just sack his queen. There's no other way to check him. Yeah, I must be just be thinking like in the wrong, must be in the wrong direction or something. Like, maybe I just need to, like, deflect the queen or something crazy like that. Like, even this move, queen takes. I mean, that just loses my bishop. That doesn't really help. But what if he does sack his queen here? Does that help? I take, and he's got promote. My bishop's pinned. If I play knight f3 right away, I think he can still just sack his queen and promote. Which is why I feel like after this move, it blocks his queen. But this pawn, really a thorn in my side. All right, let's see what the hint is. Yeah, e4. Like, I know it's e4. I know it's e4, but like, the problem I'm having is the continuation. Because I'm probably being blind to something. I'm probably blind to something, like maybe it just wants a simple takes, but then, like, let's say he sacks the queen with check, he moves down. I can't stop this pawn from promoting. Right? So, like, I can't stop this pawn from promoting. And this would be the same maneuver. And then he'd have promote. I'd have a rook on e3. So after e4, the original moves I was thinking was g4, and then he takes another en passant. But after that, like, he always has king f4 and then king f3. And then if he's on king f3, if I ever play rook f6, he's going to have like king e4, king e2 to run away. Like g4, like, first of all, he could just take it. But if he takes it, I think that's better for me. Because then after knight f3, king f4, rook e4. No, he still has king f3 in this line. So it can't be g4. there's no way I take it right away. There's no way I sack the bishop, right? Because like he just takes back, and I'm still kind of with the same problem. Like I feel like rook f6 just kills the king here, but then it allows the king to escape to the e file somehow. Check. Takes. Takes. What crazy world would knight d2 be of any use if he takes? Nothing, right? Yeah, that's just crazy. Okay, what's the hint here? I'm gonna go crazy if it's g4. If g4 is the hint. Like I know g4 is the hint, but I don't understand. I don't understand. Like it's got to be en passant, right? But if he takes it, and then if I were to take with check, he can move down. And if I were to play rook e4, he will move down, right? So like I really want to play like knight check, king f4. But then what do I do? You know? See, like I know I got the line right, but at the same time, I don't. Like, what am I doing wrong here? What, like, if rook e4, king f3, right? Right. And then what? See, after king f3, there's nothing. Now, if rook f6, king e5, that like almost lines up something with the bishop. No, it's the knight move again. See, okay. I wasn't thinking about the knight move. It's probably knight e2. It's probably knight e2, bringing the king back down. And then... oh, no. Okay. What's the move? This is crazy. I I would never get that. I'm not smart enough. All right. All right, that's all the time I have for today. It took too long. Um, I'll see you guys next time.